Hi, my name is Kip, and currently I've been working on a webcomic called Anti-venom Airlines, a post-apocalyptic fantasy about adorable anthropomorphic animals whose lives were ruined by evil purple goo. Now, alongside comic illustration and indie animation, one of my biggest creative passions is character design, and I thought it would be really fun to make a speed art commentary video where I go through the development of Anti-venom's character designs to show the improvement and meaning behind my wonderful freaks of nature. No more introduction is really needed, so let's begin with the design of our main character, Ed. Ed is the protagonist of Anti-venom, and they've always been a black and gray reptilian creature, except psych! Their first design from, 4 years ago, wasn't even a lizard at all. They used to be a weird cat thing with 4 ears and a bow tie before I basically ripped off my own design, keeping only the color scheme and the big ol' exclamation mark on their forehead. And, in the beginning, not gonna lie, my biggest gripe is how much of a nothing burger their outfit was. For some reason, my stupid 14-year-old brain was like, la la la, I want the protagonist of my story to wear a plain dress shirt with a bow tie and shorts despite it being so boring and having nothing to do with their culture at all. I'm such a genius. They were also originally an aquatic creature, and really fuzzy for some reason. Nothing against furry lizard personas, but I really needed to step out of that comfort zone of mine. Inspiration-wise, it becomes evident in their later designs that I took a lot of inspiration from the Pokémon Hakamo'o, as well as Jirachi. Their tail is made out of paper, and for some reason the little wish papers on Jirachi compelled me to do that. In terms of real-life animals, they're most similar to the frilled lizard, as well as the bearded dragon, since I later gave them spikes and frills on their head. The first times I redesigned them were all about righting the wrongs of my previous fixation on boring dress shirt TM. First giving them a better, but weirdly formal outfit that didn't make much sense, and then seeking help from a fellow character designing friend who helped me out with shape language and silhouettes, where I settled on a colorful, shapely clothing. So, what's important about the final design? Having a good idea of their now more fleshed out culture allowed me to represent it in their design better. Their culture emphasizes embracing and respecting nature, so the pterosaurs wear vibrant fabrics dyed with berries and often adorned with wool and jewels representing their god, Temkova. The jewel Ed wears matches their eyes, and I enjoy it because even if their eyes are shut, this eye will always remain open. So here's our final design. No longer fluffy, no longer boring, now a beautiful, spiky creature with a strong connection to nature. Timmy, Tim. Let's talk about Tim, our lovely snake deer. So, funny story, Tim was actually the first proper original character I ever designed. She used to be a blue and yellow quadrupedal deer with no clothes, no job, no friends, no purpose, no future, and not even her adorable silver and gold forehead fangs. Because back then, they were just antlers. I think originally she functioned sort of like a Pikachu, where she could be bipedal or quadrupedal depending on how she felt that day, I guess. And her name was always Tim, funny enough. I don't know how that name stuck for so long. When it comes to inspiration, my biggest was Deerling, yet another Pokemon because I am very brain-rotted. And additionally, Chicken Nugget of all things? I don't know how, but that stupid show inspired Tim's entire existence back in the day because of how much I love the simplistic and cute animal designs. Also, I literally just remembered some of her older designs were inspired by one of Casey Golden's original characters, this adorable rabbit lemur. Now, when it comes to real animals, Tim is of course based on a deer, more specifically a reindeer, since reindeer males and females both have antlers, and you'll see in a bit, but she is also very rattlesnake and cobra inspired. Tim's eras throughout the years were always defined by two major colors being added to her design, first being when I decided her antlers were fangs now, gold and silver, the second being when Tim finally stood up and got clothes. Well, clothes. Tim has literally never had pants, and I could not tell you why. But alongside the third stage quadrupedal Pokemon evolution, Tim gained these adorable pinks and yellows on her ears and tail, which would always stick around. They became her thing. Around this time, however, Tim's character took a more morally gray turn, and it didn't feel right to represent her with such cutesy pastel colors anymore. So I experimented, first giving her some oranges and yellows, and then deciding, screw it, I'll just make every color darker. Tim's design's development involved her basically becoming her snake motif. Once just an illusion, it's now eating her alive. Her tail is this mass of fur, scales, and flesh that wraps around her neck and back and constantly weighs her down, giving her chronic shrimp posture. She has heat vision and can only see normally with her special glasses, and my favorite part, she has this awesome rattle on the tip of her tail. Oh dear! There we go! This design was one of my proudest moments. I think I nailed making it look unique and communicating this overwhelming motif too. I am so sorry, Tim. Oh, yes! I am so excited for this next one! Alabaster! I cannot wait for you guys to meet my awesome Bugman! So, Alabaster hasn't appeared in the comic yet, but he's a chef who runs a restaurant called Darner Dining. 4 years ago when I created Anti-Venom, I would make these paper comics featuring my characters, and I created Alabaster totally on a whim because I wanted a chef. Best on a whim choice I ever made! My best way to describe his old color palette is if Stampy Longnose was a bug. He had 4 arms for once, a basic boring chef's hat, and he didn't really look like a dragonfly outside of his wings. His name also changed 3 times, first being Albert, then Albus, then Alabaster. Originally, he had 0 inspiration taken from anything at all. He was just a bug-shaped blob who cooked burgers. But when I went to redesign him the first time, I took inspiration from exactly one thing in the whole world, Shiny Vibrava. Words cannot describe how obsessed I am with this funny lace wing. As the name of his restaurant would imply, Alabaster is a darner, a type of dragonfly, except he's orange, because that's my favorite color. So the first time I redesigned him, I decided these square patterns were a perfect foundation to build on. I started giving him these really fun stripes, and in my opinion the most importantly, I defined his joints, making him actually look bug-like. It's super hard to see under the apron, but each body section of his is its own defined piece. For his final design, I decided to bite the bullet and add purple, which, at first, was a disaster, but I managed to make it work. I think the mask and little dots is a really nice touch, and my favorite thing in the whole world is his little mushroom hat. I hate mushrooms in real life, but they make such cute accessories in cartoons. Unlike Ed or Tim, Alabaster tries to be as far away from his old culture and background as possible, so there isn't much special meaning behind his design aside from, well, the arm being missing. And there we go! His redesign is so perfect, I genuinely cannot stop smiling when I look at it. It adds so much more to his character, going from a useless background chef to an absolutely beloved member of the main cast. Oh, hey, and one more question. Is this a bed boog? Art thou ready for the cutest fricking thing I've ever made? Brace thyselves! Because next we have this absolutely adorable bird dragon, Oracal. In the grand scheme of all things character design, Oracal's design really hasn't changed that much. The first design was already so unique I fell in love with it instantly. I really like having diversity in basically everything I make, even in terms of species of weird shapes, so having this noodle dragon in my furry webcomic was utterly perfect. And yet she's still an equal to everyone else, just a strangely shaped friend. Looking back, I think the biggest inspiration to Oracal's shape and color was actually a creature from a pretty obscure Roblox game called Lumion Legacy, that being Zulong. She almost looks like Zulong if it had a baby with a patoo bird, which was actually the inspiration for her big mouth and eyes. Aside from those, she's very much based on an Easter dragon or worm, although it's hilarious to me that Lumion Legacy inspired me more to design her than actual Eastern dragon designs. Their design has changed only twice, the first time being a very simple change, giving her an injury on her eye and a bell. But in her second and final design, I took that bell away, since I felt that it made her look like some kind of pet or steed rather than an actual civilized being. But this is the point in redesigning her where I start gushing about how freaking adorable she turned out, because instead of stripes, I gave her these cute whimsical swirls. Instead of a bell, I gave her this bow like a butterfly holding a little pouch. She looks so friendly and sweet and magical. I adore it! I toyed around with giving her pink accents for a little while, but I have so many female characters with pink in their designs, and I don't want to give the impression that they have to have pink because they're a girl, so blue it is. Some important focal points in this design are her saddle, which is less for being ridden and more for holding her potions and supplies because she is a healer. She has an injury on her eye as a result of an event from her past, but I thought it would be cool if having an injured third eye affected her powers. So now her psychic powers are very weak and unpredictable. Her other power is breathing plant spores instead of fire, which lets her grow a bunch of herbs and fungi to help with her healing. Dude, I cannot stress how much I love this design. Oracal, you are adorable, and I know you'll use your powers for nothing but good. Y'all are not ready for this next one, because next is Bellatrix, and I can yap about how cool she is literally until I forget how to breathe. Bellatrix is the only character in this video who doesn't work at the airport, instead running a small weapons shop a little ways away from it. And talking about her first design is going to get very complicated very quickly, because Bellatrix has been 3 different characters before, each new version of her having a different name, appearance, and personality. Let's just talk about who she was at the very beginning. She used to be really fuzzy, like Ed, with little butterfly wings and grayish-brown fur. Overall, her colors were very desaturated and gave off very different vibes than her current one does. I can't name much inspiration off of the top of my head aside from the most obvious animal that she's based on, being brown and pink axolotls. Honestly, the rest of her was just my creative liberties. Her first iteration was named Annabelle and was a shy, nerdy, overworked axolotl with depression. Her second iteration was named Sorrel and was a grumpy, umbrella-tailed, still overworked axolotl with depression. But now, she's a strong, confident, independent weaponsmith with a love for chaos, fire, and it's still depression. Yeah, there's only so much a rewrite can save you from, girl. I think that the most dramatic change she made was from early Sorrel's design to late Sorrel's design. Because that was when I decided, you know what? She's gonna be wild. Forget everything you knew about Sorrel. This is her now. Redesigning Bellatrix was also very important for me in terms of my growth as a character designer, because I gave her a very different body type than what I was previously used to. I'm so happy I did that, because I want my cast to be diverse, and I don't want to be one of those artists who doesn't know how to draw anything other than twinks. So, what's important about this redesign? Well, first off, I dropped the umbrella tail since her lore changed, and her colors are more saturated and they do a much better job at making her stand out as bright as a star. Her face, with the gills crowded around her eyes and her eyes being literal stars, does make her look rather unhinged, which I won't say is wrong. In case it wasn't obvious, stars are a very important part of her backstory, so I included as many as I possibly could without it being too obnoxious. She also has some serious injuries since her job wasn't done in a very safe manner, and I gave her some jewelry, which will be relevant in due time. And there she is! Bellatrix Manowar, shining bright as a star. She'll continue to thrive, while the venom keeps eating us all alive. Holy wiffle ball! Is that Klebe? No way! How'd you get here, buddy? Klebe is a sea slug and also a pilot. No clue who let him fly a plane, but he's shockingly good at it. Gotta be honest, Klebe's first design, like Ed's, was just a cat. You'd be shocked that I didn't grow up with warrior cats considering how badly I wanted to force cat creatures into this story. I honestly don't have a lot to say about this design that isn't obvious. He was just really boring. So Klebe's body type has always been inspired by Pikachu's, the way that they have long arms but tiny stubs for legs and can somehow still run on all fours. I'm pretty sure he was also some sort of redesign of an old Fakemon that I had based on a lemur, but I couldn't find art of it because it's really, really old. His actual species is based on the iconic sea bunny sea slug. These things are so adorable and squishy. I almost wish I had committed to the bit and drawn him with no eyes. His first design, as mentioned, was a cat, but then I did a complete 180 once again on a whim when I was doodling on an airplane of all places, and I was like, what if slug? And bam! He works so much better as a slug. Even in his final design, I didn't change much from his semi-final design. I just overcomplicated it with funny markings as I usually do, despite the fact that I need to animate them. You can see me struggle with the eyes a lot. I wanted Klebe's design to give the vibes that his body itself is sort of unstable or inconsistent, but everything I tried ended up being so cliche or edgy looking, so in the end I was like, whatever, I'll just make his eye a dot. And I think it worked. Definitely gonna make his expressions very interesting. Of course he'd be nothing without his big old goggles and gloves. I changed the stars on his design to clovers because stars were literally never a motif of his, and his name literally comes from the German word for clover, so you bet it's relevant to his character.
And there you have it. That ends my report on the Klebe.
I must say, this design has truly taken off. Boo! Did I scare you? Please tell me I did. Anyway, Cinnabar time, extra spooky. Cinnabar helps out with various miscellaneous jobs around the airport, like transporting luggage and scraping poisonous fungi off of the overgrown mossy walls. Cinnabar's design out of every single character I've ever made has by far changed the least. I've always loved their design. They've always been this salamander caterpillar type creature, and honestly, the main reason I first designed them was purely because I hated the color red at the time and wanted to make a red OC. You can really see my hesitance to include red as the primary color. I was struggling, let me tell you. The salamander she most closely resembles is a marbled salamander, at least pattern-wise. Color-wise, I took from quite a few red salamanders and yellow salamanders, as well as Tetriosphinx caterpillars. She's a very rare case in the Kip character world of not being inspired by any Pokémon. Real-life salamanders are honestly so much cooler looking than any Pokémon based on them. As previously mentioned, Cinnabar barely changed. Any tweaks made were very minimal, just touching up her outfit and giving her personality, and of course, saturating the hell out of the colors. I have never been less afraid of saturated colors than I am now. They are my favorite thing in the whole world. Some of my favorite details about her outfit are the inclusions of ghosts and monster teeth to reference her special interest in ghost hunting, and the pins on her bag. A little fun fact about her is that she's Arrow Ace, and I wanted to reference that with the pins without using the actual Arrow Ace flags, since pride flags don't really exist in the Anti-venom universe. So I gave one of the pins an arrow symbol, and the other an ace symbol. I'm so clever. Boo! Did I get you? Well, if not, I'm sure Cinnabar will, because they're gonna get up to all sorts of spooky shenanigans in the comic, just you wait and see. It's Blur's turn, our mysterious anglerfish security guard, and boy am I excited for this one because the contrast between his first and final design is hilarious. It is literally the definition of a character before and after trauma, dude. Here's the oldest design of him that I could find. He used to be pink and blue and fuzzy, sort of like a seal, which was an obvious problem when I intended on him being a fish. His oldest design actually didn't even have a glowing bulb on his head, and I just couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know where it went. A theme with a lot of older designs is that they definitely suffered from same face syndrome. They really were not distinct enough, and he also doesn't really look like a security guard either. Blur actually took a lot of inspiration from many things. Of course, we have a few water-type Pokemon like Chinchou and Vaporeon, but also a lot of different mermaid designs and anglerfish furry designs I've seen on the internet. He's obviously based on an anglerfish, specifically a female one, which will be explained in just a second. Although his trident and mermaidness could be attributed to some inspiration from mythology, I didn't do much research on it and opted to make my own lore instead. So, what was with the dramatic change? It started around the time when I realized I wanted to make Blur trans, because I was like, wait, female anglerfish anatomy on a male fish? Transgender? Awesome! And from there I started to flesh out his character more, both in design and lore, as well as wanting him to embody more of what I associate with anglerfish. Anglerfish are deep-sea creatures, so I wanted his design to be very dark but with high contrast on his accent colors. I wanted him to look scarier than he was on the inside, because anglerfish do indeed look pretty scary, and the females also have very dramatic gender differences. So I thought it would be cool and interesting to have a trans character who could never fully pass amongst his species as a result. It doesn't mean he can't be himself, it doesn't make him not valid, but sometimes trans people have things about themselves that they cannot or do not want to change, and that doesn't make them any less of who they are. I look forward to expanding on this more as more of Blur's story is revealed. So, minus the Esca on his head, there were some key changes that I wanted to highlight. I like to prioritize interesting features over conventionally attractive ones, so I gave him lots of roughed up skin and a snaggletooth and underbite, all of which are inspired by the fact that he's a fish, an anglerfish no less, who have massive toothy mouths and very war-torn skin. Blur has fought in many a battle, but I like the detail of his scarred skin being semi-translucent so his glowing blood is still visible under the skin. In his culture, the glowing features on the body of these fish, especially the glowing Esca on their head, are a symbol of strength and help with intimidation, and Blur is a very strong character, so I gave him a lot of them. Holy moly, that was a ramble. I have so many thoughts about Blur, and I can't even share all of them here yet, but I hope y'all are looking forward to seeing him in the comic. I know I sure am. Good luck out there, dude. You have a lot to overcome, but I believe in you. Last but certainly not least, we have the creature who single-handedly added capitalism to the Anti-venom Airlines universe, Pilfa Manypockets. I wish I was joking, but yes, that is her name. Pilfa's design has changed only once within the first day I designed her, and that is because Pilfa was created very, very recently. Like maybe a few months ago. Might seem a little late in development to add a character. I disagree. I can do whatever I want. Really all I struggled with was deciding what to do with the browns and how saturated I wanted them to be. Now, here's where I drop the bomb and tell you that the #1 inspiration for Pilfa Manypockets was my own OC. My Danganronpa OC I made last year named Sell So Many Goods was so iconic I have slowly been implementing her into every story I've told, and I decided Anti-venom would be no different. In a world where everyone is just trying to survive, it's really interesting to have one character who cares more about hoarding gold than basic survival. She is the perfect contrast to this entire show. Part of the reason I felt the need to include her is because almost every character in this series faces some kind of issue that I have before. These characters were written to help me cope with my struggles. They help me feel strong and less alone because I know I have them going through similar things. It doesn't make these guys self-inserts, and they do very much differ from me, but they're still a part of me, being a part of my ultimate passion project. But Pilfa is different. Pilfa is my shadow. She embodies everything I don't want to be, like me if I fell down the wrong path and gave up my dreams in pursuit of capitalism. That is why her design is so similar to my Sona. We're opposites, but she still has a place here, as all my OCs do. As for her actual design, Celso was created with a raccoon motif, so Pilfa is very raccoon-inspired, with quite a bit of crow worked in because she's very smart and crafty. She has many rings because she's been married many times, and she loves holding on to the gold. Her candy corn color scheme has always stuck around, and I was never really sure why outside of me just really liking it. I mean, look at this video's layout, I go crazy for orange. Her eyes are hidden by her hair and the mask around her face, which is symbolic for a lot of reasons, but the big one is that she acts very inauthentic and has a lot to hide. And just like that, our last character has been drawn. I could not be happier with her design, and all of these. This video has been an absolute joy to make, and I've been planning it out for months. If you'd like to support me, please check out my comic, Anti-venom Airlines, for more, where you'll be able to see these characters actually do stuff. I plan on working on Anti-venom as my #1 project for the foreseeable future, so prepare to see a lot of it, and thank you so much for watching. This has been Kip. Bye-bye!